In early July of 1943, as German armored units prepared for the Battle of Kursk, one of the largest clashes in military history, an unusual guest arrived at the front. This visitor was General Cemil Cahit Toydemish, commander of Turkey's First Army, accompanied by a Turkish military delegation. The trip represented one of the last significant diplomatic military contacts between Turkey and the Third Reich. It was carefully orchestrated by the Germans as a demonstration of power, an attempt to sway Turkish policy at a critical moment in the war. During his visit, Toydemish examined the Tiger I heavy tank on the Eastern Front and even shared cigars with Field Marshal Erich von Manstein. He also had face-to-face meetings with Adolf Hitler, yet what he saw behind the facade of Nazi strength deeply influenced his conclusion. Germany was heading toward defeat. Turkey entered World War II as a state still recovering from the collapse of the Ottoman Empire and the bitter Turkish War of Independence. President İsmet İnönü, a cautious strategist, pursued a delicate policy of neutrality. Turkey's military was large on paper, but poorly mechanized, with outdated equipment. By mid-1943, the balance of the war had shifted. The Axis had been defeated at Stalingrad and in North Africa. With the Allies preparing to land in Italy, Germany desperately needed to keep Turkey neutral, or, ideally, draw it into the Axis camp to threaten the Soviet Union's southern flank. It was in this context that Berlin extended an invitation to General Cemil Cahit Toydemish. I've launched a special World War II word search puzzle book series, each volume dedicated to one of the pivotal battles of the war. They are a fun way to relive history while giving your brain a healthy challenge. Collect them all and build your own library of World War II battles in puzzle form. You will find the links in the description below. Born in 1883, Toydemish was a veteran officer of the late Ottoman army and had fought in the Turkish War of Independence. By 1943, he commanded Turkey's First Army, responsible for defending Istanbul and the Straits, a role of central strategic value. Known for his professionalism, discipline, and analytical mind, Toydemish was trusted by İnönü to deliver an honest assessment of Germany's military position. Unlike some other Turkish officers who leaned toward Germany, Toydemish approached the mission with sober realism. Before arriving at the Wolf's Lair, he and his delegation were shown Germany's western defenses as well. The German officers led the Turks along bunkers and coastal artillery positions designed to repel an Allied invasion. At the time, construction was still incomplete, but the German propaganda painted it as an impregnable barrier. This first leg of the tour aimed to show Turkish officers the supposed invincibility of German defenses. Yet, Toydemish could detect signs of strain. an overextended military trying to hold back mounting Allied power on multiple fronts. The delegation's next stop was the Eastern Front, where the German army was preparing for Operation Citadel, the massive offensive against Soviet positions at Kursk. Here, Tojdemir witnessed Germany's prized weapon, the Tiger I heavy tank. The Turkish officers were also allowed to examine the Tiger closely. German commanders stressed its thick armor and powerful gun. The message was clear. Germany still had cutting-edge weapons that could dominate the battlefield. Tojdemir also met Field Marshal Erich von Manstein, the commander of Army Group South. Known as one of Germany's most brilliant strategists, Manstein attempted to convince the Turks of Germany's strength. Tojdemir reportedly shared a cigar with him, a gesture of camaraderie but not conviction. On the 6th of July, Tojdemir entered the Wolf's Lair, Hitler's heavily guarded Eastern Front's headquarters in East Prussia. The Turkish delegation was received by Hitler himself, increasingly withdrawn and erratic, yet still projecting confidence. The discussion centered on Germany's upcoming offensive at Kursk and the claim that the Soviet Union was close to collapse. Hitler attempted to persuade Tojdemir that the Reich was still a powerful force and that Turkey should side with the Axis. Tojdemir, however, remained cautious. Behind the propaganda, he could sense the growing desperation. Upon returning to Turkey, he delivered a secret report to President İnönü. His assessment was blunt. Germany was overstretched and losing the initiative. Despite technological marvels like the Tiger tank, the Allies' material superiority would prevail. Turkey should remain neutral and avoid being drawn into a losing alliance. Toydemir's report was a decisive factor that the Turkish president continued policy of caution. Turkey stayed out of the war until February of 1945, when it declared war on Germany, only symbolically, just in time to join the United Nations as a founding member. While Toydemir's actual conclusion steered Turkey away from the Axis, it is also worth exploring a counterfactual scenario. What if Turkey had joined the Axis earlier, perhaps in 1941 or 1942? Turkish entry would have opened a new front in the Caucasus. The German forces, supported by Turkish troops, could have advanced on Baku's oil fields, threatening Soviet energy supplies. This might have forced Stalin to divert more divisions south, potentially easing German pressure in the Central Front. However, the potential benefits were offset by huge risks. Turkey's army, though large, was under-equipped, relying on outdated weapons and very limited armor. An Axis-aligned Turkey would have faced immediate British naval pressure in the Mediterranean and possible Allied landings on the Turkish soil. As the war turned against Germany after Stalingrad, Turkey would have been exposed to invasion from both the Allies and the Soviets. In short, Turkish entry into the Axis might have prolonged the war, but would not have changed the final outcome. Instead of preserving its sovereignty, Turkey might have faced devastation similar to that of other Axis partners. General Toydemir's visit in July 1943 was more than a diplomatic courtesy. It was a pivotal moment in Turkey's wartime strategy. By carefully observing Germany's military situation firsthand, Toydemir recognized the reality behind the Nazi facade of strength. His report helped secure Turkey's neutrality, sparing the country from the destruction of the war. Germany sought to use spectacle, tanks, fortresses, and even Hitler himself to sway Turkey. Yet the experienced Turkish general saw through the illusion. His conclusion was prophetic. Germany would lose the war. By staying out, Turkey preserved its independence and emerged in 1945 on the winning side without the devastation of occupation or war. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you want to support my channel, check out the PayPal donation link in the description or consider becoming a member. To make sure you don't miss my future work, subscribe to my channel please and press the bell notification button. Thank you for watching and see you in the next video.